Video games have come a long way over the decades. Back in the day, it was all about getting the high score or saving the damsel in distress. Now, video games have sprawling narratives and stories that can pull the player into a world unlike any other. Some games have been praised for their great story, even going so far as to define a whole new genre in video games. However, with the great also comes the bad. Some video games have plot holes so out of left field it changes the story of the game, and that is what we're looking at today. Video game plot holes that make you wonder, what were they thinking? Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to The Gamer for more exciting videos on the games that you love. The Locust Queen. Gears of War was a dystopian powerhouse third-person shooter where humanity had its back against the wall. The only solution? Grab a gun and start blasting as you and your band of brothers try and fight against the Locust invasion. Throughout the game, you play as Marcus and battle your way through Locust hordes in order to save humanity. Through the 3 games in the series, you go through some character development such as finding your dad and helping him escape imprisonment and finding out the fate of your mother. In Gears of War 3, fans were hoping the final revelation would be that Queen Mira would actually be Marcus's mother. Wait, hold up, what? Yeah, in the story, Adam says that she died when Marcus was really young, but delving deeper into the game by researching Adam's in-game notes reveals that emulsion substance found underground had sentient properties, leaving a lot of questions unanswered at the time about how exactly the Locust Queen came about. Was she a human host, or made via a lab experiment? Fans were left wondering with little to no answers at the time. Let's hope Gears of War 5 gives us something to go on. Fallout 3. War never changes, and neither does your tolerance to radiation. In the world of Fallout 3, you're left to wander the DC waste to find your dad. Surprise, surprise, you do. And he's been working on a super secret plan to give clean water to the wastes. A noble goal, but there are some hitches along the way. You have to battle your way through the super mutant army to get to the plant and activate the generator. There is just one problem with all of this. The room with the switch is highly radioactive, and anyone who goes in will die. So, you have a super radiated room that means certain death to anyone not immune to radiation. If only we had a companion who was a super mutant and could go in and turn on the generator. Oh, Fox, when did you get here? Yes, the game is implying you sacrifice yourself and not use the companions you collected at your disposal to end the game without your character dying. Now, there is DLC for the game, so you can continue, but it begs the question, why isn't there an alternate ending where you can send in your radiation-immune friend to save the world? Assassin's Creed. There are a lot of things you can say about the story of Assassin's Creed. What was originally marketed as a game about playing as assassin killing off targets turned out to be a sci-fi horror show of tropes and messy exposition involving alien gods and pieces of Eden that require pseudo-time travel. It's a hot mess, believe us. But some moments in the Assassin's Creed universe are more of a mess than others. One of these moments happened in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood when Desmond stabs Lucy. According to the story so far, the assassin bloodline is apparently able to defy the gods who were able to control humanity through the pieces of Eden. But for some reason, Desmond is under the control of Minerva and stabs Lucy at the end of the game. It may be a small drop in the bucket compared to all the other convoluted things that happen in the Assassin's Creed story, but it is one that has come up again and again in the fandom. Either way, it is this little hiccup in the story's continuity that adds to the hot mess that is the Assassin's Creed storyline. Batman Arkham Origins. In the Arkham games, we have seen the Batman experience take on a whole new meaning. Never before has a game put us in the driver's seat for one of the most iconic and recognizable heroes in all of history. To add to that, this trilogy of games has given us a world that feels unlike any other Batman game in recent history, becoming the gold standard for Batman games going forward. There are a lot of things you could credit the game for, but there is one oversight in the game that makes gamers question the story just a bit. While Arkham Origins is supposed to be a prequel to Arkham Asylum, why does Batman have advanced gadgets that we don't see in the previous games that come before in the timeline? According to the timeline of Arkham Origins, Batman has only been on the job for a couple years. This is not the only little speed bump in the story. How could Bane know about Batman's identity in Origins, only for him to forget it when he takes the Titan formula? They might be small inconsistencies in the overall continuity of the series, but knowing these makes players question storylines as well as ruin the immersion of the game. Bioshock. A man chooses, a slave obeys. But how does a kid survive? In the deep dark world of Rapture, you play as Jack, a man who survived a plane crash and forced to survive in the hellish landscape of this sunken city. Battling mutants, robots, and big daddies, you have your work cut out for you, almost like you were meant for this kind of thing. Well, that is no surprise, as it is revealed halfway through the game that you were programmed to come to Rapture. Your parents, your life, and all of your memories were just programmed into your brain as some sort of freak lab experiment. The one thing that comes to mind when you're told that your character's life is all a lie is, how did he survive that long? It's shown that we were programmed with a fake life and sent off into the world, only to be activated later on. That leaves the long time between being programmed and coming back to Rapture. We were basically abandoned at 2 and left to survive until we were in our 20s and brought back to Rapture. One of the most prominent theories is that Jack was actually artificially engineered to age faster than normal. So perhaps you were running around as a super powerful 3 or 4-year-old with a grown man's body, shooting up and shocking the city of Rapture. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think you were playing as a big grown baby? Surviving a zombie bite. This mostly applies to the Dead Rising series, but we guess it can apply to all zombie games to an extent like Left 4 Dead. So the player is pushed into this world crawling with zombies either through some airborne virus or through a bite. Alright, standard zombie scenario. You're armed with guns, bats, chainsaws, and anything else you can think of, and yet there is still the possibility of being overrun. Now, basic zombie logic dictates that you turn into a zombie when you get bitten. However, in Dead Rising, you seem to just shake off zombie bites as if they're mosquito bites. This is made more apparent in Dead Rising 2 when the entire point of the game is to get a cure for a little girl who is going through the zombification process. And yet you can go through hordes of zombies and get bit all you want and be fine, provided you have some handy-dandy orange juice. We guess you could argue that because you're the main character, you're more important and slightly immune from zombie diseases, but it makes the player question how all these other people became zombies when apparently it takes much more than one bite to transform. Spoiler alert. Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII is arguably one of the most recognizable and best games in the Final Fantasy franchise. From Cloud's impossible large sword to the famous scene where Aeris is killed by Sephiroth, the entire game is brimming with content. No one is debating if Final Fantasy VII is good or not, but what we will be talking about is the fact that an item in the game can bring characters back to life, the Phoenix Down. Prevalent in all the Final Fantasy games, the Phoenix Down brings a party member back to life. So isn't it a little curious that the one time you can't use a Phoenix Down to revive someone is with Aeris? Now, some people can argue that for the story to progress, Aeris had to die. But in universe, it seems to not really add up. The thing is, this is basically a meme at this point, which is why it's so low on this list, or is not number 1 at least. There have been comics, skits, and fan animations talking about the fact that Cloud could use a Phoenix Down to revive Aeris. One of the best of these was done by the popular animated comedy channel, Cyanide and Happiness. The Song of Storms. While we're on the subject of great genre-defining games, let's talk about The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. It's not the first game in the series to feature time travel, but it is the first game to revolve around the mechanic. You jump between young Link and mature Link in a span of 7 years to undo the evils of Hyrule, and also ruin an innocent songwriter's life. Yes, in a minor side quest while adult Link, you will run into a songwriter in Kakariko Village who has been plagued by a song that was shown to him by a young child. He then teaches it to you in a fit of rage. Rewind the clock back to young Link and you can go back to the village and find the same guy. You can teach him the song that he taught you as an adult, and he will start to be driven insane by it. The song in question, of course, is the Song of Storms, and you learn it from the windmill guy, who was taught by you, so you can teach it to him, so you can show him and teach it to you, and he'll make you, makes your brain hurt a bit, doesn't it? Heavy Rain. Heavy Rain is a game of story, deception, and mystery. There are twists and turns for each character, and there is a race against time to find the origami killer. The game's main protagonist, Ethan, is prone to blackouts. There are points in the game where Ethan blacks out only to wake up in a new location holding a folded paper crane, similar to the origami killer, or at the very least hinting heavily at the fact. However, when we find out who the killer really is and the story truly ends, Ethan's blackouts are never really brought up or explained. Now, some may argue that this is a red herring or a plot device that is supposed to mislead the reader or viewer, but this is just not a red herring. The fact that Ethan's blackouts are never really ever explained in universe leads the player to believe that they have been duped into thinking Ethan had some sort of split personality. Some outlets were quick to point this out. Kotaku ran an article talking about the blackout MacGuffin, calling them a ham-handed attempt at a red herring, citing the fact that Ethan's blackouts served no purpose in the game, misled the player, and didn't even explain why they even happened to begin with. Red Dead Redemption. A tale of revenge and Western-themed badassery, the likes of which we have never seen before, Red Dead Redemption was Rockstar's greatest hit yet. Fans rejoice at the fact that we're getting a sequel to this amazing game, and yet there is one detail that we can't help but bring up. The thing that we're bothered about in Red Dead Redemption is that after the main game, the character Jack Marston seeks revenge for his father's death. From the time we witnessed his father's death to the present day of the game, Jack went from a book-smart intellectual to a hardened badass outlaw just like his dad, all in a span of 3 years. Wait, 3 years? Hold on. Didn't it take Jack's dad an entire lifetime of being an outlaw to hone his accuracy and deadly efficiency with a revolver? And Jack learned all his dad's skills in a span of 3 years, all while the person who could teach him, his dad, was dead. That does not make sense. I mean, I guess he was a smart kid and may have picked up the tricks of the trade in less time. However, this is also a video game where you set out on a revenge rampage to avenge your dead dad, so I guess anything's possible. And those were some of the most well-known plot holes in video games. What'd you think? Do you have any plot holes in games that you want to talk about? If you do, let us know in the comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe to The Gamer for more engaging and exciting videos on the games you love. Also, don't forget to check out our playlist for more awesome videos. Thanks for watching.